Right now, your heart is beating a little faster than it needs to. You just checked your phone for no reason. You glanced at the door when someone walked past. None of that was a decision. It happened before you were even aware of it. But the real answer for why is far stranger than stress, or screens, or bad habits. Your brain is not built for the world you live in. It is still running software designed for a world that vanished a long time ago. Think about that for a second. The device inside your skull, the one reading these words right now, was not designed for offices or traffic or notifications. It was designed for something else entirely. Something older. Something far more dangerous. For roughly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens lived as hunter-gatherers, small bands, constant movement, constant risk. That is not a footnote in human history. That is almost the entire story. Agriculture is only about 12,000 years old. Cities are younger still. If you compress the story of our species into a single 24-hour day, civilization would only occupy the last few minutes before midnight. Everything else, every single adaptation your brain carries was forged in that long stretch of darkness before the clock struck almost 12. So when your palms sweat before a presentation, your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It just doesn't know the difference between a hostile crowd and a hungry predator. Here is where it gets strange. Your nervous system did not evolve to make you happy. It evolved to keep you alive long enough to reproduce. Those are very different goals. A brain obsessed with survival is a brain obsessed with threat. And a brain obsessed with threat is a brain that overreacts constantly to modern situations that carry no real danger at all. Psychologist John Cacioppo spent decades studying this exact mismatch. His research on loneliness found something remarkable. Feeling socially isolated does not just make you sad. It raises cortisol. It disrupts sleep. It weakens the immune system. Why would a feeling do that to a body? Because for most of human history, being alone meant being unprotected. A lone human on the savannah was not independent. A lone human was food. Your ancestors did not survive because they were the strongest or the fastest. They survived because they belonged to a group. The group meant more eyes watching for danger. The group meant shared food when a hunt failed. The group meant someone to keep watch while you slept. Isolation was not an inconvenience. Isolation was often a death sentence. That is why loneliness still feels like danger today, even in a heated apartment with a locked door. Your brain has not updated the manual. As far as your oldest instincts are concerned, disconnection is still an emergency. Now think about anxiety. Not the clinical kind, just the everyday hum of low-level worry so many people carry around like background noise. Where does that come from? Evolutionary psychologist Randolph Nesse has argued that anxiety is not a defect. It is a smoke detector. A slightly oversensitive one, but a smoke detector nonetheless. A smoke detector that never goes off will let your house burn down. A smoke detector that goes off constantly is annoying, but it keeps you alive. Evolution does not optimize for comfort. It optimizes for error, and it prefers the error that costs you nothing over the error that costs you everything. That is why your brain treats a delayed text message with the same internal alarm system it once used for a rustling bush that might contain a predator. False alarms were cheap. A missed real threat was fatal. So natural selection built you to jump first and ask questions later. Here is the part that reframes everything. You are not broken. You are ancient. Every uncomfortable modern reaction, the racing heart in a meeting, the urge to check your phone every few minutes, the deep ache of feeling excluded from a group chat. All of it is a survival tool from a world that no longer exists, misfiring in a world it was never designed for. Consider your attention span for a moment, or what people love to complain has vanished. It has not vanished, it has been redirected. Your ancestors needed to notice sudden movement, unexpected sounds, anything that broke the pattern of a calm environment. That kind of vigilance kept them alive around predators, weather, and rival groups. Today, that same vigilance gets hijacked by a notification sound, a red dot on an app icon, a headline written specifically to look like danger. Researchers studying dopamine, including work built on B.F. Skinner's early experiments with variable reward schedules, found something crucial. Unpredictable rewards create stronger compulsive behavior than predictable ones. A slot machine is addictive not because it pays out often, but because you never know when it will. Your phone works the same way. Every scroll is a tiny hunt. Every notification is a tiny kill. Your brain does not know it is looking at a screen. It only knows a reward might be coming, and that is enough to keep you looking. Ancient hunting worked the same way. Uncertain outcome, high potential reward. That uncertainty is precisely why it captured so much cognitive real estate over hundreds of thousands of years. Nobody designed your brain to be enslaved by a device. They designed it to relentlessly pursue anything with unpredictable payoff. Because in the wild, unpredictable payoff usually meant food, safety, or opportunity. What about your fear of public speaking? Statistically, one of the most common fears people report. It has nothing to do with slides or microphones. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar has spent years researching group size and social bonds in early human communities, and his work suggests something important. Our ancestors lived in groups of roughly 150 people or fewer. In a group that size, reputation was survival currency. Being cast out did not just hurt your feelings. It meant losing access to food, protection, and shared resources. Standing in front of a group and being judged was never trivial. It was, quite literally, a matter of life and death. That is why your body still treats a room full of strangers evaluating you as an existential threat, even though no one there could actually banish you from anything. The stage has changed completely. The alarm system has not. Here is the twist most people never consider. This mismatch is not a flaw in you personally. It is a flaw in timing. Evolution is slow, painfully slow. Meaningful genetic change across a population can take tens of thousands of years to spread. Culture, on the other hand, can transform in a single generation. We build cities, screens, and social networks faster than biology could possibly keep pace with. You are, quite literally, walking around with hardware from the Pleistocene trying to run software from the 21st century. This explains so much of what feels irrational about modern life. Why does junk food feel almost impossible to resist? Because calorie-dense food was rare and valuable for most of human history, so your brain rewards the pursuit of it intensely. Why do you doomscroll bad news even when it makes you feel worse? Because tracking threats in your environment used to be a matter of survival, and your brain still treats information about danger as essential even when that danger is a headline from another continent that will never touch your life. None of this means you are powerless. Understanding the mismatch is actually the first step toward working with your brain instead of against it. When anxiety spikes before a meeting, that is not proof something is wrong with you. That is 300,000 years of survival instinct misreading a boardroom for a battlefield. When loneliness aches after a quiet weekend, that is not weakness. That is an ancient alarm reminding you that humans were never meant to do this completely alone. Even memory itself carries fingerprints of this ancient world. Psychologists have long noted that humans remember emotionally charged events, especially frightening ones, far more vividly than neutral ones. That is not an accident of biology. A human who vividly remembered where the predator was or which berries made them sick was a human who survived to pass on that memory shaping trait. You are the descendant of the ones who paid close attention to danger. That is not a metaphor. That is a direct biological inheritance sitting inside your skull right now. So the next time your chest tightens before sending an email or your mind spirals at 2 a.m. over something that will not matter in a week, pause for a moment. That is not a modern glitch. That is an ancient guardian, still standing watch, still scanning the horizon for lions that left the story a very long time ago. Your body is a time capsule. It carries the fears of the savannah into the fluorescent light of an office building. It carries the hunger of scarcity into a world of overflowing grocery aisles. It carries the need for tribe into a world of scrolling feeds that only imitate connection without ever fully providing it. You were never broken. You were simply born into a world your instincts have not yet had time to recognize. And once you see that, everything about your anxious, distracted, deeply social mind starts to make a strange and quiet kind of sense. Because your brain was never really built for now. It was built to survive a world that no longer exists.